just trying to work these phones about some of these potential hires and stuff like that. So, and this is the hard part of when you do this, because if you say something positive about these guys, you get evidently San Francisco didn't want him anymore. Well, evidently so-and-so didn't want him anymore, Please, just spare me that, I mean, there's coaches in this league, coaches in all professions, that they get hired, they get fired, and they get hired again. Not every it's not like teams are looking to get rid of guys. And maybe the situation with Nick Sorensen, and I'm going to talk about him a little bit because he's going to be your special teams coach. So, he had an opportunity. He's a coach that they really, really liked in San Francisco. He was a coach that, as the defensive coordinator, he was out over his skis. But as far as the special teams coach and some of the other things, this guy's a pretty good coach. And I think he fits a pattern in talking to some people around the league about him that we're maybe going to see from the hires that Brian Schottenheimer makes here. And it goes back to Schottenheimer talking about how he is with people and how that is a strength of his. And I think listening to people, a couple of different sources I had on Nick Sorensen, he is a guy that is very much that type of guy. Really, really good with people. But also, people were telling me about this guy. He's a really good coach. Now, we'll see. The defensive coordinator thing at San Francisco, injuries, whatever, it didn't work out. They like I said, they wanted to keep him, wanted to put him in another role, but he's going to get an opportunity to go out and be here in Dallas, I believe. But to a man, they were telling me this guy is a really good coach, and he's a really good dude. They really enjoy these guys who were with him, who have been with him before, really enjoyed working with him. He's smart. He's thoughtful. He's into people. Players in the building will really like him, and he will connect with them. So that's kind of where I think that Schottenheimer, when you're starting to talk about...
He's trying to build the most likable staff of all time, starting with himself.
Well, he's trying to build a staff that could relate to the people, that could relate to the players, and Sorensen was a player in the league for a bit. And so, but I think he's trying to get people that when you have to coach, when you're able to... In this day and age, it's not like when I played football where coaches yell and scream at you the whole time. I think you have players in this day and age that don't respond to that well. I think there are guys that like tough coaching, but I also feel like that there's players respond better to guys that are like that more. And I'm not saying coddle, because there's coaches, like I say, you could ask some folks about, with our coach that just left to go to Chicago, the Al Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little too much coddling going on there. Maybe
too player friendly.
Too player friendly. I think there's a point in time where you have to be able to interact with your players and to get the best out of them. But I mean, like I say, you also can't coddle them so much that they don't do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't encourage a guy to go get treatment. They don't encourage a guy to go study a little more, or show up at the facility a little early and all that. They just let him do those,
right.
Just let him skate by.
You know what I'm thinking of as you say this is it's Dak's personality. That's how Dak is.
Yeah.
If he's got an issue with you, he's going to come at it more of almost like a youth pastor or like a life coach. Like, we're going to collaborate to come up with a great solution together and be positive and excited about it, and I do think there's value in that, especially as the younger generation sort of idealizes that form of communication and moves farther away from direct, bold, blunt communication. You got to get yourself aligned.
Yeah.
But I remember Mark Cuban 6 or 7 years ago talking about that's why Rick Carlisle had to go. I guess that was only 4 or 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys from my era, it's probably not the best way to coach anymore. I think you have to have tough coaches. I think that's why guys like Nick Saban and them have to get out of the game.
Yeah.
Because it'll be interesting to see what Bill Belichick does, with New England. Does he, or not with New England, with North Carolina.
Sure.
Will he do? But But
takes a lot of patience and mindfulness and attention.
That's where I think, that's why. But also asked about the potential, because we're starting to hear about Klayton Adams, who is the Arizona Cardinals offensive line coach.
Yeah, we saw how that run game tore up the Cowboys early 2023.
Exactly.
You know, that's exciting to me, because Schotty's going to need some guys that know how to get boots in the ground and get in the trenches in Oxnard and teach the techniques and the angles.
Yeah, that's the thing that I heard from Klayton Adams is, and I asked this question to a couple different people who had been with Clayton before, and they said that he's a tough guy, tough in the way of teaching and wanting to be physical and wanting to be not tough as a yell or screamer guy, but he's like a tough play tough. He's a very encouraging guy, but his big thing is, though, he has been in programs that have run the football and run it well. Goes all the way back to Stanford when they used to have with the rushing attack. Not that far back, but
Jeremiah Love.
Well, David Shaw. When David Shaw would line up with big, like 7 offensive linemen and downhill, and McCaffrey and those guys, and the way they ran the football. That's the kind of attitude that he has about it. But the Colts, and now with Arizona, he really likes the interchangeable parts with players, like especially his offensive line. Now, I used to think that position flex was a cool thing to say and all that, and then I'm like, position flex. What? Why? We keep talking about it. I've seen guys like we were talking about Tyron Crawford. I kind of saw his career. They couldn't figure out where to play him. No, position flex. Is he a tackle? Is he an end? They did the same damn thing with Golston. Is he a tackle? Is he an end? They finally play him. Sometimes position flex is like a curse that you can't be able. You're not able.
Well, you just can't force it.
You can't force it, right?
You got to find where his home is.
But what these guys were telling me about this guy is he does like the ability with the interchangeable with the centers and the guards, and that the tackles can play both sides. What I really liked about him was that this guy told me, he said, listen, this guy coaches veterans and rookies the same way. Like he's not going to coach. He's not going to be tougher on the rookies and let things slide with the veteran guys. No, he's going to coach the whole line the same way, because he said, look what they've done. They've played with rookie offensive linemen at Arizona and had success doing it. Sometimes these coaches, like we saw what happened with Guyton here a little bit. They're like, well, maybe we shouldn't.
Let's play Adoga.
Well, let's play Adoga. All right,
he's a veteran.
Yeah. So sometimes you get coaches that are in that mode where they don't want to play. They don't want to play a rookie player. They don't want to coach up a rookie player. But this guy is really open to that idea.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals dealt with some injuries on the offensive line this year, and he was able to keep them really impressive when it comes to not giving up pressures and some of that stuff. But and we know how much of a wide variety he brings to the table. I think the idea that he's bounced around college, NFL, he's also been a tight ends coach.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for that. Like if you're a tight ends coach, you have to have the passing game in the back of your mind as well.
Yeah.
You can't, you have to understand the marriage between everything. And so that's a guy who I think is extremely well-rounded, and I really hope they get this dude.
See, this is where, and you're absolutely right, this is where I remember with Andy Reid. Andy Reid started with the Packers as the tight ends tackles coach. Mm-hmm. And then Mike, Steve Mariucci and those guys all left, and then Andy became the quarterback coach. Well, Andy didn't know anything about it. I mean, he wasn't really, but what Andy learned is, like you're talking about, Chief, offensive line play, marry it to the passing game, because you have to know the perimeter of everything going around.
That's what Brian Schottenheimer talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
We want to marry the run and the pass, and we're going to do it out of looks that look familiar so you can't tell what's coming.
Yeah,
this is a guy that I think can help you go a long way in actually accomplishing, which is a great mission, but difficult to pull off if you don't know how to do that.
I kind of feel like, because there was talk about maybe Lunda Wells was going to be maybe the line coach. I heard that from a bunch of people that, Lunda Wells, he's better. He's a better line coach than he's a tight ends coach. And I'm like, okay, cool, if that's the case. But if Lunda Wells, I mean, we felt like that group got better at tight end with the blocking, didn't we? A little bit at the end. I mean, it weren't dudes just hammering people, but we felt like that group got better. So I'm thinking if you can, Linda Wells working with that tight end group, getting those guys better as blockers, then you get this coach
who's done a little bit of that
Adams
as well.
who comes in, and now you have the Y's and the offensive line working together, and then you have that continuity, that physicality, the way they block. Schottenheimer, he was a gap scheme guy. He's been a wide zone scheme guy. There's things I'm encouraged by their ability to kind of adjust this thing. And I think if they get some of these coaches, like you said, Eric, that are not in the building but outside and bring those different ideas, different philosophies. But Klayton Adams sound like to me the type of guy that needs to be here working on Brian Schottenheimer's first staff.
Sounds like a guy to take you out to his deer lease too and just help you, fill your card.
1
week.
Well, he would
Klayton
definitely
Adams,
take the Chiafalo girls to go hunting for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and dial that up.
Yeah, you need to dial that up.
Knows his way around some feral animals.
There you go.
That much. Thank you,
Might
Brian.
be one
Thank
himself.
you.